Dane Simpson here, Gamilaraay man, and what we're doing today is we're going to bust all those myths and lies that we see on social media about the vaccines and COVID. We've got Paddy here. Paddy is a vaccines expert. Paddy, how you going?
Good, thanks, Dane. Good to see you, mate.
How come you're an expert? What does that mean? That you nerd studied vaccines for like
Yeah, I do. I study vaccines, and I think it just means I've been in the one job too long, Dane.
Well, how long? So you go to uni and all that type of stuff, and you've been studying vaccines, or you've been doing this job for how long?
Yeah, I've been doing this job for over 15 years now, working in vaccines. I'm the vaccine coordinator in Hunter, New England.
Yeah, right. And just kicking it off, like we've got COVID out there, and this is your area of expertise, right? So we're trying to bust those myths and legends that we see out there that people are talking about. And like COVID-19 is out there. It's dangerous. I see that people say that it's same as the flu. And like you've been studying this long enough. It's what is it? What is it close to? It's not even close to the flu, is it?
No, Dane, it's not even close to the flu. So it gives you, like when it starts off, you get like a sniffle and a cough. But if it gets you bad, it gets into your lungs. And then unlike any other respiratory illness, it gets into your blood and can cause really serious illness and put lots and lots of people in ICU. The ordinary flu doesn't do that, mate.
And when you say, like, yeah, it puts people in ICU. So I'm starting to sort of understand this. There's only a limited amount of places in the ICU. Hey, like there's only a limited amount of beds. And COVID is putting more people into the ICU than what the hospital can hold. Am I getting that right? I don't know how that works. I feel like I'm going to the doctor and telling him, nah, I know what's wrong with me, bruh. It's my leg's sore. Yeah, what is it? Is that how it puts pressure on the medical system?
Yeah, well, it puts pressure on the medical system, and it means maybe there's not the best treatment there for you, because the problem with this jolly pandemic is that everyone gets crook at the same time. So if you were the only person to get crook with COVID and you turned up at the hospital, you'd get wonderful treatment. But that's not going to happen. It's going to be everyone's going to get sick at the same time. Everyone's at the front door of the hospital and they can't look after everyone. And maybe you're the person that misses out. So much better to protect yourself with a vaccine than to, turn up at the hospital with many other people and fight for treatment.
Because I think we've seen like some of that really full-on stuff happening in other countries, didn't we? Like last year, I heard, or even I suppose it went into this year, but in America especially, there was some people there that were not getting able to get into a bed in hospital and stuff and being turned away. And we certainly don't want to end up in that kind of situation, not here in Australia.
No, that's right. So you need to look after yourself, keep yourself away from hospital. Always looking after yourself, keeping healthy, keeping away from hospital is always the best method.
And so the best way to do that is to go out and get the vaccine.
Yeah, exactly. A little jab here keeps you out of hospital, not complex.
I think I've seen that people are saying, like, I trust my immune system to help me get over COVID. But I think, like, the vaccine helps the immune system, though, doesn't it? Like, it's like a personal trainer. It just gets him a little bit stronger.
Spot on. It is a personal trainer for the immune system. It's like going to the gym. So if I haven't had the vaccine, my body doesn't know COVID, it's weak against COVID. And then if I bump into COVID, I'm going to get crook, and then I'm going to end up in hospital. Whereas if you have the vaccine, it's like going to the gymnasium for your immune system. It builds up your immune system really strong. So if you bump into that COVID, bang, you're going to knock it out and it's going to keep you out of hospital. Won't stop every little cough and cold, won't stop every little symptom, maybe won't even stop you getting COVID, but it's going to make it a much more mild disease, keep you out of hospital, and you'll be so much more better off with that vaccine on board.
I'm glad you used the gym analogy, Brad, because that's me spot on. Like I know I'm at the gym once every, fortnight, decade. Well, I feel like it's different in the metropolitan areas and the regional areas that we're going to get vaccines and stuff. Like, how is it? Why is it a bit different? Because I live out in the country. I live in Wagga Wagga. I got both of my vaccines fairly early because I'm looking after my parents. it's how's that work?
Yeah, so the resources are put to where the disease is worse. So a lot of the vaccine's gone to Sydney at the moment. I'm sitting here in Taree at a vaccine clinic today, and there's not as much vaccine available in some of the rural areas. But the AMSs all over New South Wales, they've got supplies. So get into your AMS and get that vaccine.
Yeah, that's great. So all you've got to do, how do you get the vaccine? You just ring up the medical centre, or?
Yeah. Go through your Aboriginal Medical Centre because they know you best. They're going to look after you best. They got great supplies of vaccine, and it's much easier to get into your AMS. Some of the government systems you've got to log on, and it's a bit complex. So just rock up to your AMS, give them a ring, find out when they're running clinics, and they'll have vaccine for you.
Okay, I go on social media. People have all of these ideas and stuff. I don't really know why people listen to some idiot who was the doorbell in high school over a doctor. But why is it? Why do people listen to these people? Like, they write something and then that's gospel, but to a GP, and they're like, nah, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I feel like we shouldn't be trusting Zayden, who was in life skills. You know, and like I think I should trust somebody who did 8 years of doctoring.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Dane. So I think it's reasonable to ask questions. I think it's reasonable to be, think, oh, well, what's this vaccine about? Do I really need it? But then the question is, where do you get your information from? And I think you're right. Like, there's some trusted sources, the health department website, your own doctor, your Aboriginal health worker. They're the people to get information from. Because if you're reading stuff that's on the net, maybe it's right, maybe it's not. It's really hard to tell. So rock up, have a talk to someone at your AMS that you trust, and get the right information.
I see on Facebook or social media and stuff that people are like worried that it's an experimental drug, the vaccine, and that they're giving it to Aboriginal people first because we're like they're going to trial it on us, and then they'll give it to the rest of Australia. But I feel like the rest of the world has been taking it for like a year or so far. I don't know. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. No, you're spot on, Dane. So this is not an experimental vaccine. We've been making vaccines for a long time, and we just tweaked them for COVID, and now they're here and they're ready. And you're exactly right. There's billions of people around the world that have had this vaccine, and it's not experimental. So I think it's good that Aboriginal people ask questions, but in this case, Aboriginal people aren't being used as guinea pigs. It's been given to lots of other people. In Australia, it was given to doctors and nurses first. And if you think about it, like you know and I know, that the thing that's going to keep mobs safe and strong is culture, looking after yourself and being true to your culture. But in this case, that virus, it's foreign. It's come in from the outside. Now, my ancestors came in the tall ships 250 years ago into Sydney Cove, and that Gadigal mob, within 2 years, they reckon about 70% of the people that lived around there were dead from smallpox because that smallpox came in with people from the boats. Now, that mob was really strong and healthy. They were proper cultural, but that smallpox got in there because it was foreign and they had no protection. And it's the same with the COVID. That COVID's going to come into your town, into your suburb, into your community, and it's foreign, and you need to build up that protection. And the only way to do that, well, there's two ways to do it. One is to get COVID, but maybe you'll survive, maybe you won't. Or the second way is just to have a little needle, little vaccine that prepares your immune system, keeps you strong inside, and then you're going to be right.
So you were just saying, like, if you do get COVID, I don't need to get the vaccine then? Is that what you mean? No,
if you get COVID, you still get the vaccine. But the way to stimulate your immune system is either you get the disease and recover, but the problem is some people don't recover, or you get the vaccine and to protect yourself so you never have the disease. So I thoroughly recommend getting the vaccine. Don't sit around and wait to get COVID.
Yeah. When you get the vaccine, like, some people are saying, like, it strengthens the community, because I see, like, on particularly the premiers, like we need 70% of the state to be vaccinated. And why? How does that help? Why? How does me getting vaccinated help my community?
Yeah. Vaccines are a really cool thing in that way, because if I take the vaccine, I'm help protecting you. And if my family all have the vaccine and my community have the vaccine and you come into my community, then there's much less chance you're going to get sick. And it's the same with all the community. So it's something you do for yourself to keep yourself healthy, to build that immune strength so you're ready for COVID and you can fight it. And it's also, if you do that, then you're going to protect everyone else in your community as well. So if you're not going to get sick, you're not going to pass it on to someone else. So you do it for yourself, you do it for your family, and you do it for the whole mob.
Oh, that's cool. I feel like for the people who aren't getting the vaccination, they're the lazy one in the group activity when you're doing stuff at uni, and they still want to get full marks at the end of the day, and they're like, "No, mate, you need to be in with us." So me getting vaccinated helps me and my family. Like I'm looking after my mob and my community, I suppose.
Yeah, spot on, Dane. Yeah, you do it for yourself and you do it for everyone in your family and everyone in your community. It's keeping the whole community strong.
I went and got my vaccine. I took my dad down to make sure that he got his as well. I got my second dose. And I got the nurse to give my dad all of the information just so that he was a little bit more around things. He's at that age now where he's sort of questioning and just wondering whether he should get it. And I just think it's important for people to have that knowledge to figure out what's going on. He ended up getting it, which is absolutely fantastic. He said, "I'll be the dad and I'll go and get the vaccine," which was great. The only weird thing is that when I came out into the waiting room after he had his jab, he had a lollipop, which I don't find to be a dad maneuver at all. But yeah, it's. I think it is important, especially so they were getting especially the older people in the communities to go and get the vaccine. So it's being rolled out in almost age brackets. Why do they do that?
Yeah, so this terrible disease, COVID, it really knocks around old people, and the experience overseas it just kills old people. So the first thing to do was to protect the elders. The elders are our cultural link. We really got to protect them. But now there's a big push on immunising young adults, because the way that virus gets around the state, gets around the community, is young adults taking it around. And you said before, like your dad was being the dad and getting vaccinated. That's a really important thing to do for dads and mums, because at the moment, there's no vaccine for kids under 12. The only way they're protected is if all the adults go down to the AMS and have their vaccine.
Yep. Yeah, great. And there's obviously there's two of those major vaccines. There's the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca. I see that people are hesitant to go and get the AstraZeneca because of there's like some health complications and stuff to do with it. But then people will say like it's not that common. I don't really know how that works. So how does AstraZeneca work, or how come people are talking weird about it?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question, Dane. So in some ways, it's sort of reassuring. So when we started to give those vaccines out to everyone in Australia, we found that some people, not very many, so you want to know how rare it is, if you filled up the MCG, which holds 100,000 people, at an AFL grand final, and you gave everyone an AstraZeneca vaccine, about 2 or 3 people can get that blood clot. So it's pretty rare. Yeah,
but not only they get the blood clot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they would like die or anything. They just there could be some complications. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's right. Some complications. But it's sort of a good news story in some ways when you think about it, because we found this problem and we've let everyone know. There's nothing hidden. You know, if we find, even though we're trying to get people to have the vaccine, if we find a problem, we tell people about it, which means if you're reading stuff and it's not coming from a doctor or your Aboriginal health worker, it means maybe it's probably not true.
Yeah. I like that about the health system. I think that's really cool, is that if there's something wrong going or something happening to do with people's health, then that becomes a thing that everybody gets talked about. Like, and I love that. I think sometimes it's easy to get caught up into like this is a political thing and not a health issue, when realistically getting vaccinated I feel like it's more of a health thing, that people should be looking after their health more so than it doesn't matter who you vote for or what political stance you have.
No, that's right. No, it's not a political thing. It's just a health thing for you and your family and your mob. You know, we all know the health messages, yeah? You know, give away the cigarettes, don't drink too much, lose some weight, have some exercise, eat bush tucker, the healthy person you can be, and have a vaccine.
All of those things you listed, I feel seen, Paddy. Thank you. I'll do it all. As soon as I get out of lockdown, I'm on a health kick. I'll eat more salads and I'll lie a lot less. I see this on the news a fair bit. They use the word asymptomatic. I don't know what that means. Why are people who are asymptomatic being like? How is that bad?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. So one of the tricky things with this disease is that you can pass it on even before you got symptoms. So you don't even know you've got it. Like a lot of diseases, you get crook and you know to stay at home and not pass it on. But this disease, you don't know. So you haven't got any symptoms. So we call that asymptomatic without symptoms. So you can wander around, make everyone in your family, everyone in your community really crook, and you don't even know you've done it.
Okay. So asymptomatic is sort of like you could have it, but you just don't know it. So if you that's why they're doing the lockdown laws, is that if people are crook, they should just be at home. Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's right. So there's two ways to stop this disease. One is to stop it spreading. So the way to stop it spreading is to decrease contact with people, which is just awful. We all like contact. We all like to be with our families and our friends and social. So that's a terrible way, but it does work. And that's what we're doing short term, because that's the only protection we got. Long term, it's vaccination. So you want to be part of the crew that's vaccinated, so that you've got that protection, and so that when you're in your community with your family, wandering around, visiting, being nice with people, you're going to protect yourself, and you're going to not pass that on. So that's the way to protect yourself. So one of the really important things is that we know that if we've been to somewhere where there's been COVID, we've got to stay at home and get that test. So even if you don't have symptoms, that applies to you. It's really important that if you've been to any of those hotspots, that you get yourself a test and then go home and isolate.
Yeah. And that's why it's important to use those QR codes, I suppose. So when you are going to these places and you check in with your phone, then if there's any cases there, then that tells you on your phone, and then you go and get checked. You do the swab, you get tested, see if you've got COVID or anything like that. I think that's because you could be asymptomatic.
Yeah, exactly. You could be asymptomatic, but you could be cooking it up and then passing it on to other people. So it's really important. And the QR codes are really important. I've got a big mob of colleagues, and they're all doing what we call contact tracing. And we've got a lot of Aboriginal people working in that team. If you're got to stay at home, they'll ring you up and let you know.
It's one of those things where in our communities, especially in those country towns, or those sort of I'm living in Wagga Wagga, which is sort of like a larger city, but it's certainly still a country town at heart, where we look after each other and make sure that we're all just being safe and doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's really important, Dane. I think that's exactly right. We've got to look after each other. It's like a footy team. If we're all looking after each other and doing the right thing and playing to the coach's direction, we're going to win. We could be 13 wonderful players, but if we're all doing our own thing, we're not going to beat anyone.
Yeah. I see people treating themselves as well. There's a ivermectin or something to do with horses. Why? That's not a good thing to do, is it?
No, it's not. No, I used to have dreadlocks down my back, and then, I took the wrong therapy, and look what happened to me. So don't make up stuff yourself, mate. No. If you're crook, you go to the hospital, they'll give you the proper medicine. Don't do the home pharmacy thing.
I think that's a good idea, because I don't trust me. I trust people who are in the know. I think I think it's better off to just go, oh, you know what, I should probably talk to a doctor on this one. And that's just the best health advice you can get.
Yeah, I think that's right. Now, Aboriginal people are understandably skeptical of some of the advice. They've been treated badly in the past, but in this case, this is really good advice for Aboriginal community. No one's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. There's no tricks here. It's just really straightforward. The best thing for your health and your community is to have the vaccine. Straight up.
Thank you for having a yarn to us and breaking down those myths and barriers about COVID and vaccines and stuff. If people want more information, go to the Health New South Wales website, check it out and get all of the information so that you can make an informed decision. Go and get vaccinated, look after your family, look after yourself and stay safe. Love you.